Sexual assaults are becoming a big problem in the military. The nation's top military brass will go before the Senate Armed Services Committee today. Joining us live is Virginia Senator Mark Warner. Senator, good morning. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Now, you've introduced here some legislation to crack down on the problem. How do you plan to go about doing that?
Well, I've got legislation that's co-sponsored by my colleague Tim Kaine from Virginia, and we've got now a Democrat and Republican introducing it in the House. And it really says if you are a whistleblower in the military, whether it's about sexual assault or whether it's about pointing out that an aircraft may not be working, something we found with F-22 pilots down in Newport News, our legislation does three things. One, it increases the statute of limitations up to a year, similar to federal civilian whistleblower protections. Two, it makes sure that if you bring forward this case, it will be resolved in a timely manner. In the military, we're finding some of these sexual assault cases are taking more than a year to resolve, which doesn't send a very good signal that it's safe to come forward. And three, it says if you do bring forward a case and you're found that you've done appropriate action, you're going to make sure your military record is going to reflect that. We're finding that only 20% of these victims who brought forward sexual assault cases, they oftentimes still have some, dark mark on their record, and the military doesn't come back and fix that. What we're trying to do is create a safe climate so that if somebody is the victim of assault, or for that matter, flying in unsafe hardware, there's a culture in the military that says if you see something or something happens to you, you should be able to bring forward that in a way that's not going to affect your long-term career. Because too often we're seeing these people who are basically the whistleblowers or the people who are assaulted upon actually get recriminated against, and we need to bring that to a halt.
Hard to imagine the situation could have gotten as bad as it is without some pretty senior military officers not doing what they should be doing.
The numbers are pretty astonishing. It looks like all the data says only about 15% of the sexual assaults that take place are reported. And I think part of that is due to this problem that if somebody reports and then they're kind of basically left hung out to dry for over a year before their case gets resolved, that doesn't send a very good signal that if to say, hey, I should come forward as well. Our legislation is fairly narrowly tailored, and it looks at that problem about let's have these cases resolved quickly, efficiently, and then if they're resolved, let's make sure that the whistleblower or the person who is the victim doesn't have to carry any black mark on their record.
Absolutely. That sounds like something everyone could get behind there, trying to keep Americans safe from one another in this case. Now, there's something else you're working on here, and probably near and dear to the hearts of a lot of people who have gone through some very difficult times with their homes and watching what happened with the subprime marketplace. You're trying to provide assistance to those people who are still trying to get back on their feet. How would this work?
Well, this is actually a good news story. This is focused out in Prince William County, where there were a huge number of foreclosures back in 2008, 2009. There's a group called Voice, which is made up of churches, synagogues, mosques, a whole group of the faith community all across Northern Virginia, but particularly in Prince William, who came together 3 years ago and said, all right, we feel that there were a lot of these predatory lending practices that took advantage of the community. The community really hurt, and they wanted relief. And our office helped. I was not sure we were going to get the kind of reaction, but I got to tell you, these folks have gotten the heads of Bank of America and GE and JP Morgan to commit now millions of dollars. The Virginia Housing Authority has put up some money, and not only have they been able to do about $900 million worth of loan modifications, they've hired some loan counselors, and now they've got a very ambitious $30 million project to take some of the homes that were foreclosed and basically blighted homes in the community and rebuild them and create about 400 units of affordable housing. And our office has been helpful, but I have to tell you, at the end of the day, it's been the power of faith of these folks who just would not take no to any kind of institutional sidewalk. You get some of these priest ministers and imams coming in. This is a pretty powerful group, and I give them all the credit.
Well, that's
awesome
good.
Story.
Promising news on both fronts we covered this morning. Senator, thanks so much for coming on with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Take
Always
care.
good talking to you. Virginia Senator Mark Warner.
It's 8:36.